The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to the show. Dan Moylan with you here on the West Stand with Michael Normanson.
You all right?
I am all right. I'll be even more all righter when I know that you've safely gone to the Albanian Alps this summer and utilised Saily.com, the eSIM product.
That is absolutely seamless.
I was going to say, it goes into your phone. Doesn't even go into your phone, does it? It's an electronic thing.
It virtually goes in. You do change some settings or something. It does it for you.
It's basically,
all I know.
It's data wherever you go, is what it is. Explain what an eSIM is, Michael. Treat me like an idiot. Treat me like I'm an idiot.
Right, you're going on holiday. Rather than turning on your own data roaming, you get an eSIM, which is like a pretend SIM card.
Yeah.
Your phone thinks it's real.
Yeah.
And then it lets you connect to a different network, which doesn't charge you loads of money for using it when you are abroad.
So it's data everywhere. An eSIM provides an internet connection wherever you travel and saves you money on roaming fees. There you go. Loads of eSIM data plans in over 200 destinations with Saily. You can get it on your phone straight away. If your phone's not compatible and you've signed up for it and paid, then they'll just refund you straight away. 24/7 support, which is nice, isn't it? Looking after you.
And you can quite easily check if your phone is compatible.
Yeah. Just there's an internet full of that.
There is, yeah.
That sort of information, which is great. Yeah, really affordable prices, so you can significantly reduce and even eliminate roaming fees with an affordable eSIM plan in over 200 destinations. Great if you're heading off on holiday or you're going from country to country or whatever, because obviously you only need the one eSIM then, don't you?
Exactly.
You can just get the data for wherever you're going. And you are going to the Albanian Alps to try this out?
Yes. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yep.
Sure it'll be fine. Apart from maybe the driving, but they can't be blamed for that.
It means you don't have to buy a SIM card in the airport and you can just be up and running as soon as you get there. So head to Saily.com and utilise the code TheSquareBall at checkout and you'll get an exclusive 15% discount on a Saily eSIM data plan. And if you're watching on YouTube, there's a QR code on screen. You'll find the link in the episode description box as well. Today's guest is Ed Cowburn off Acid FC. All right, Ed.
Hello.
For anybody who doesn't know who you are, Acid FC is your design house.
Soon to be brand as well. I'm going to go up against your merch with my own.
We'll take yours down. Although we did collaborate on a promotion t-shirt, which is very nice and available at thesquareball.net. Yeah.
And a mug.
And a mug.
The same design.
All right. It's the Champions Again Ole Ole design. Thank you for doing that, but we will take you down now.
That's fine. That's fine. The hope was to try and have it at the end of the Peacock season. So it's kind of been in the planning for a long time. So
you were, just to hop on that, the designer of the kits for that season, which included the peacock one and the fruit salad one as well. And the
rhubarb and custard, please.
That's what I said. And the blue, yellow, blue Adidas stripes on the home kit that lost at Wembley.
Thank you. I brought you a present.
Okay.
We'll talk a bit about why this is important, but I bought you a feather.
Okay.
This is one of the feathers that I drew that's on the kits.
It's an authentic night.
This is
for anybody who hasn't seen the shows with you before, right? Worth going back and watching. So you explain the design process on the kits.
Can you tickle me with it?
And
sorry, I forgot we're recording.
And the peacock kit, the blue peacock kit, 1919 dots in each tile of that design.
Yes,
the thing that the big revelation, the sort of thought that has gone into kits in recent years. However, you've got a little bit of a bee in your bonnet about this year's home kit that's been announced, which is why we're getting together to chat about this a little bit, because I don't think you're a big fan, are you? And I want to, just before we get into it, can I just caveat it and say, I'm fully aware it's a piece of nylon. I'm not going to buy it. It'll be gone in 12 months. I don't care that much. But, it's a Leeds kit and we talk about Leeds stuff. And it's got the Lowfields tile design on it, which is very familiar to us, isn't it?
I don't know where they got that idea.
No.
Producing merch with that on.
Yeah. I don't know. Ed.
Let's leave that hanging. Definitely worth caveating with. This is always transient. It's subjective. If you don't like it, don't worry. I'm not upset. It's just my entire career and being that we're talking about. But why
don't you get a proper job, Ed?
I think my wife would quite enjoy that.
Oh, fair enough.
So it's more of a bee in my bonnet is across football. It's kind of why I started Acid FC. I wanted to sort of do things differently, and as a fan, I always felt that there was a lack of connection between what we call fan culture and what clubs produce. And I always thought, and still think even more so, that clubs should do more hard work, good research that means you're producing things that are story driven. That's kind of how I always come to every project that I do.
So when you say story driven, you mean, for example, like with the Peacock kit, it's a peacock tile that you designed. It's got 1919 dots in it. There's a story there.
Yeah, and then, but it flowed through from the home kit all the way through to the third kit that, it wasn't just peacocks, it was more storytelling in each one. There was an opportunity to go deep with however deep you wanted to go with the story that was being shown. First of all, I want it to look nice. I want people to want to buy it just from seeing it the first time. But if you want to go super nerdy, and let's be honest, that's what we are as fans. We are nerds. We do like details, that you can go into that kind of level of detail. And I also believe that there's a really important commercial reason to do that, because I think if you tell those stories well, then ultimately I think people are probably going to buy things.
So the story creates an emotional connection, which people respond to by investing in the club, both emotionally, but then they will also hand over money to buy.
Definitely. I think that was what came out of when we did the big deep dive, and it was, 2.5 hours, wasn't it, or something ridiculous, or with the Peacock stuff, that you were getting messages and I was getting messages that, thank you for doing that, because now I've gone out and, bought the kit. I wasn't sure about it at first, but you've gone into those details and I've gone out and bought it. So, yeah. And I feel that, and again, caveat, it's not just Leeds, it is across football. This storytelling just isn't being done. And I don't think I'm the odd one out. I think people do like to think that there's effort gone in, because whenever I see new kits launched, one of the first comments that most people say is, this must have taken 5 minutes. Why aren't fans involved in the process a bit more so that connection is deeper?
All right, then. So that's the point underlying this about this season's home kit, isn't it? It looks like very little effort's gone into it, in my opinion.
I think when you put it up against last season's, more so. So we just said off air, if this had come out after the yellow stripe home kit from 4 years ago.
Is that the piss yellow one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Rafinha wore. I think if it had come out then, you'd have gone, oh, this is interesting. This is something nice. It's got a story. There's something about it. Then that would be fine. I think the fact that last season we had, obviously, your first season with Red Bull, blue stripes, round collar, and then it's kind of, if you put them side by side, there's not a great deal of design difference. The Adidas template hasn't changed that much either. There's no pattern in the white. It just feels a little bit disappointing.
Right. Yeah, you're choosing your language carefully, probably for professional reasons here, aren't you? But,
yes.
But this is why I wanted to caveat it by saying, as you were saying, it's a transient piece of nylon that's clearly overpriced, but it exists to occupy that emotional, that connective space, doesn't it? And I still have an opinion and care about the home kit on a very sort of low level, I suppose, because I'm not going to buy it. And it's about that relationship you have with the club, isn't it?
Well,
so there's possibly a little avenue to explore there. So why do all these us middle-aged farts go, I don't like that kit?
I'm angry.
Yeah, about a thing I'm not going to buy.
Well, I suppose it's the one thing it's going to change every year, or 3 new things, or plus training kit, plus special editions, or whatever. But it's the one piece of sort of physical. It's the physical manifestation of you as a fan, right? I suppose is the wanky way of saying it.
Yeah.
And therefore, it does matter, because it's the thing that you associate, that you feel that you can wear as a connection to the players that we support every week. Sometimes not, and that's why I always feel there's such a sense of responsibility to make it as good as you can.
And the sense of it mattering is always greater when it's first revealed now and dissipates over time, which from your own experience of doing the kits, that within a bit of time, the kits become associated with games, players, like, for example, the maroon kit. Ridiculous. Should never have been a Leeds kit, in my opinion, ever. But I now think about Rafinha whenever I see it, because, we create memories, games happen.
Yeah,
in these
I
kits.
think
So come August, if we beat Everton in that kit, no one's going to give a shit. But,
no.
But interesting to examine it now before any games have been played.
I think that's absolutely right. You know, there's this weird sort of human condition that we're incredibly adaptable psychologically. Yet when we see new things, we go mental. You know, just think about those times when, you know, Facebook have changed the homepage. Burn it down. What are we going to do? Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Yep.
And I think that's what makes us human, you know, is this ability to, you know, sort of, I'm not saying bad things happen and this is a bad thing, but, you know, we adapt really easily. We forget bad things really quickly, but at the time it feels like it's earth-shattering. But that's part of the joy. That's part of the fun. You know, I like just watching X and seeing everybody sort of have an opinion, because it's the closest I get to sort of art and the thing I love to do, and actually having public discourse. It's great.
What's your take on it, Michael? Lazy or not?
I don't mind it.
Right,
would be my take on it, which is maybe a bit simplistic. I think there's certain details I don't like. The bit on the back of the collar, the scarf thing.
the twirly scarf.
Get rid of that. Get rid of that completely.
Does that feel to you like that is two ideas on the same shirt? Because they've used the tile design and they've used the twirly scarf thing. And you remember the home kit from 93, 94 that had they had the bar scarf motif around the middle. Maybe they could have run with that. That'd have been a thing.
Yeah, potentially. But I just don't like that as a motif either. It reminds me a little bit too much of the Radrizzani crest in that it's a bit of like a thing you see in the stand attempted to translate into a bit of something that's on a shirt, and I just don't think it works.
Is it like appropriating fan culture then? So that sort of thing.
But I sort of don't mind that. I just don't think that sort of it's too small to have any impact really, and it also just doesn't look particularly good. It's not stylish.
It is. I was looking at it the other day, excuse me, and it's just quite badly drawn. Yeah, it's just not. It looks more like something you would get on like an unofficial merch stall outside the ground, is what I would say for something like that.
Right.
And also just the pattern of the shirt. Is it? You'll be able to tell me more what this is. It's not yours with the peacock. What was that? It wasn't a jacquard print.
No, that was debossed.
That was debossed.
Right.
But you know, when you get a texture of some kind within the fabric,
there's none of that.
That would have seemed an obvious way to potentially, if they were going to go with the Lowfields pattern as a design, maybe do some sort of incorporation of it into that as well. So there was an underlying bit of something there. Or I like shirts with a bit of texture to them. There was one that came out, a bit of a going off to one side, but Motherwell.
Yeah, she's fine.
Awake It was launched yesterday, and it's a steel blue to reference the steel industry of Motherwell. She's fine, and it's got the old British Steel logo as a kind of repeat pattern in a sort of deboss thing, and I was like, that's just quite nice. It's random, but it's quite nice.
Interesting. You know,
and it's I don't think it's particularly expensive in the grand scheme of things to sort of add things like that. But I mean, price is another thing to discuss, isn't it? It's 70 quid now for a home shirt.
Just wait. That's all you need to do. Because I will buy it when it goes to 20 quid, but not before.
Oh yeah, I'm just looking at the Motherwell thing now. Yeah, so it's the old British Steel logo was sort of, it was like two curves forming an S, and it's kind of repeated that, so it looks like it's almost like a bit of a snaky pattern. That's quite interesting. That. Yeah, really interesting that they've done that. It does, at least it does speak to the heritage of the town, I suppose. Yeah, exactly. I think it says Steelman on the back of the collar as well. Yeah, it's those kind of touches that I just think just elevates it that little bit more. And as you said, I think it's a trick that if you were to put it into the sort of the weave of the shirt itself, I think we wouldn't be having this conversation maybe as much if that had been in there. Motherwell shirt, 55 quid, by the way. There you go. Macron is the manufacturer there. Do you remember those guys?
I do. I think Macron has improved, in fairness, since we had them.
Yeah, they do some pretty good stuff. As soon as I'm burning bridges one place, maybe I should... great bunch of lads. They seem to be doing... with most of their clubs, they don't have like this sort of elite level program, and they just go, look, if you've got really good ideas and we've got a blank canvas to sort of do stuff, then let's do it. rather than just sort of taking on templates.
And I think that's possibly the main gripe with Adidas, is that obviously they do templates. Everybody gets the template. It's the same thing across the board pretty much for all clubs every year. So you're already starting off from a place of restriction. Because I remember when we spoke about the home shirt, and I was saying, how did you choose the collar and this and that and the other, and like the cut. It's like, well, that's all decided for you. You're then working off a graphical template to put your ideas over the top of it.
Yeah, I think that's something else to sort of bear in mind. When you see fantasy shirts, I mean, like the one I did last week where I put the Lowfields pattern underneath some white stripes, I don't know if that would have been possible. Right. You're set that would have been set from the beginning. Here's the template. Here's what we can do. Here's what we can't do. I went off the Germany women's kit that's out in the Euros at the moment. That is really nice when you see it up close. So I kind of went, well, they've done it here. Why would they have not done it for us? But you don't know the politics and the costing implications. I was in sports shops doing some research last week and seeing some of the new kits that come out. And we're not an elite Adidas club. We get the kind of what you class as maybe a stadium edition. So everything's kind of dye sublimated. It hasn't got the kind of jacquard weave pattern in it. If you have a look at like the Real Madrid home shirt, the player edition, that let's be honest is 120 quid plus, it's unbelievable. Like the level of detail, like even on the Fly Emirates logo, there's like a pattern within the sponsor, and it's probably to avoid copying, and but it looks amazing. And I'm going, what if we had that? That would be really cool.
Michael, £120 football shirt?
I might wait for 30 quid on that one.
Right.
If it's got a lot of detail, maybe I'd have a look at that.
Yesterday I saw, for example, Brighton have got Nike, and you can only buy the stadium edition as a fan, but the players have got a more performance, this technical sort of version, but you can't buy that, and that's quite weird as well.
Yeah, I've noticed that with a lot of the Adidas clubs. Like, our Adidas stripes on the kit are raised because they're stitched on, whereas actually the ones that the players wear are basically flat and they look almost slightly plasticky. Yeah, and the same. If you look at the Real Madrid one, because you're not going to look at the Man United one, it's got like tiny little dots in that kind of flat Adidas. Just all the details look like where you would pay extra money. Yeah, at the root of this, it's the sense that we want to feel like special little snowflakes. And Adidas really care about us and have put loads of effort into our design, and the people at Leeds United are demanding more, and it's actually, do you know what, let's just get this thing done and signed off for next year, because these are signed off like maybe 18 months ago, something like that.
Yeah, at least I'm speaking to a couple of clubs that are almost doing close to 2 to 3 years now ahead. Wow. which is mad. I think it's a good link actually, to one of my soapbox issues, which is kits can lead the way with clubs. They're the longest thing that's been done at any one time in a club in regard to a design. So when you know that that's coming, you should be able to build your entire kind of marketing, commercial side of the business for that.
Lowfield's design, for example. If somebody hadn't got there first. And
therefore, it should actually make your marketing and communications department more efficient because you're looking that far ahead. But I know for a fact that clubs aren't thinking like that. And, as a man who likes to sort of be more efficient with money, to me, Michael, would you not agree that would make a lot of sense to be thinking ahead? And therefore, you also can feed in some of the stories that might be coming that then go, oh, I've seen that somewhere else. Oh, there's a T-shirt with it on. Therefore, you've stopped that bit that we talked about earlier where, what's that? I don't like it. It's new, because you're already kind of teasing it, Yeah.
I think a missed opportunity with heritage stuff as well will be like the anniversary of the European Cup final that we've done a shirt for, we did a jacket for. That's pretty much unremarked on by the club as far as I can see. So whether that could have been integrated some way as looking down the line of where you can maybe look to put some old ideas back in, I suppose. The Lowfield shirt, funnily enough, when you said 18 months, 2 years lead time, we launched it on the 2nd of November 2023.
Right.
Our one.
It's quite a while ago, isn't it?
So, yeah, kind of fits with their time frame. They've seen it and gone, do that.
I grimaced a little bit there, and that's because I was employed by the club as a consultant on the retail department. Season we got relegated, so it was all my fault. Another reason why it's all my fault. And so I kind of was helping with. We did a lot of the sort of Peacock stuff around that season. I did sort of the varsity stuff, ups and downs, which we probably won't necessarily focus on, but. I saw behind the scenes, how that sort of works, and I put forward a 1975 collection. It was discussed, but only in retail. I can't make comment, and I know there's the people that were there then aren't there now. There's a lot of changes, obviously, with the 49ers. There's obviously Fanatics now around that we can talk about. So. Again, this is my soapbox that fan culture feels like there's a very much a disconnect in football between clubs and fans, and it's like, do we want it to be closer? Do we want that kind of fan-led discussion and the availability of that kind of stuff to be in megastores? Or I suppose it's a question back to you guys: is that your job, and we accept that's where we get the more fan culture bits, and that the club should be let off if they're not doing that. I don't think so. I think the fans, the club has a responsibility to the fans. They always say things like, they're the custodians, we're the true kind of, owners of the fans. Football would be nothing without us.
You mean all that bullshit, Ed?
I didn't say that.
But in terms of like the fan culture, it's not ours to own either. We're just a part of it. I like to think we've got a bit of a corner of it, but it's not ours to own. If you like our stuff, then great. Hope you buy it. If you don't, that's fine. There's plenty of other stuff out there for people who might prefer the stuff that the club do. But yeah, it's a sticky wicket for the club to get on, isn't it? When they try and, like I say, appropriate fan things, like as we saw with the salute badge and like this, the use of the tile design on this, just, I don't know. I like the idea, obviously, because we did it. But I don't know, on an official kit, the way it's been executed, I don't know, it just feels a bit underwhelming, I suppose.
And, I think that's the final bit here for me in this kit launch was the fact that they didn't use that story within the launch, and you've got players just sat around the dressing room, pulling weird poses like, that always happens, the pulling the badge, pulling the arm, looking around, having a laugh, and it's like that. Why was there not the connection to the Lowfields?
Well, because we'd already done a photo shoot down there, surely. Like, we'd launched our Lowfield stuff down there, so you look like you're copying then. Heaven forbid.
Whereas I don't think anyone's noticed. No. Got away with that one.
The Fanatics have taken over the retail operation online and in store.
Have you been in store yet? Because I've not been in since redone the show.
I was in Leeds and went past the Leeds one the other day and sort of stuck my head round the door and saw the new kit and had a quick look and stuff. And
unironed, wasn't it, on the dummy, which annoyed you?
It's the little things.
Yeah,
it's the little things, and it's launch day and the kit's out, and that's your selling thing for anyone that's wandering past and goes, oh, what's going on there? And yeah, they hadn't ironed the kit, which yeah, that's not the. I thought that was a pattern at one point. And up close.
What, the straight out of a bag pattern?
Yeah. What does that say about the club?
Yeah, interesting to see how Fanatics get on with it. As I presume the club just basically get a cut of everything that's sold, and they're designing a bunch of stuff around it and selling a bunch of stuff around it.
So Fanatics, for anyone that doesn't know, they're massive, absolutely enormous in America. They look after all the NFL, NBA, ice hockey. They even make a lot of stuff on license for Nike, which I know if you sort of have a look into the baseball stuff, there's been, they made a few headlines about a year ago on that.
Not universally loved, I would say.
Yeah, they do
have scale.
Yes, that's what they're really good at. They do own Mitchell and Ness as well, so they've got that kind of sort of more aspirational kind of brand side as well.
Retro stuff, isn't it? Mitchell and Ness as well with like NBA and stuff.
Which we got a year ago.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Some of the big bomber jackets and basketball inspired stuff.
It's not a brand that's really known in the UK though, is it? I wouldn't say.
No.
It feels like probably the cart went before the horse there a little bit. If you've got Fanatics and you can sell that stuff and distribute it stateside, that's the thing you do with that stuff.
Yeah.
Because with the best will in the world, I know we've got an ice hockey arena and whatnot next to Ellen Road these days, but not, and obviously Larry Nance Jr., basketballman, hoopman, not that much for a basketball hotspot, Beeston.
I think there are some courts at South Leeds Stadium.
Right.
There's the one on the moor at Holbeck. It's very thriving.
Right.
But yeah, probably not.
But I think the thing with how Fanatics probably works, and I don't know the ins and outs, is generally, Leeds aren't the first football club that they've dealt with. They've been around in English football for probably about 10 years.
They've been knocking around like Villa recently, haven't they? They've done some Celtic stuff. Newcastle.
Everton had them for a while. I think Man City had them for a while. Some of these clubs have had them and then gone back to how they were before. So generally, how it works is they will come in and they will almost like buy the retail off the club. So it means that the club will get a fixed fee per season, and then probably royalties on top. But effectively, it's Fanatics to kind of run, so that they will be calling the shots. The club will get sign off, but they're handling all that stuff. Obviously, Adidas bring in all the training kit and all the playing kit and everything else. And generally, it's seen that that's where most of the merch is sold. It's the real authentic Adidas stuff, and that the rest of the stuff is required to sort of be there, and pajamas and t-shirts and polo shirts. Leeds sell a ton of polo shirts with smileys on and peacocks and all that kind of stuff.
I really like the training gear, by the way. I should say that it's the navy blue it's got the blue on one shoulder, the yellow on the other. I think it's very Leeds.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's been well executed. And actually it's probably just, again, simple template where they've just put that colour, done. But I think it works really, really well.
Yeah, you don't get much choice in the training gear. You might get 2 or 3 different colour choices, and this is what we're doing. But I think last season, I think they nailed it pretty well as well. Almost the season we had the
grey, blue, yellow stuff.
Yes, the season we had the peacocks was almost sort of a bit of an outlier because it had that kind of minty green in it, which I thought worked well in terms of what else was going on with the peacocks. Everything felt very together, but it probably maybe wasn't quite Leeds if you want to sort of think about colouring. No, I think they've done a good job. I mean, we don't need to necessarily get into Red Bull bashing here, but have you noticed that?
Let's.
Well, it's not necessarily the conduct of Red Bull per se. What I mean is it's the logo and how dominant it is, because we have to accept that this home kit is part of a suite of 3. As I understand it, it's the blue Nike Strongbow nod is the away kit this time, and then the third is going to be black. And then
it'll be interesting to see if on that blue kit they've done anything with the texture of it, because that had quite a strong.
It was like a twin stripe through it, wasn't it? Yeah, hoops.
If they go for a plain blue on that, I think it'll lose something. So it'll be interesting to see what the final version of it is.
No, definitely.
No, we'll do this all again when the other 2 come out.
But so maybe they're the ones that pop this year, and I think the blue will sell very, very well with anybody. The people who. So there's always like it's a don't mess with the home kit too much. Have an away kit that maybe nods to tradition. This is based on what Kinnear said when he came in. And then have one that's a bit out there. So the out there this year probably is going to be black, which I'm really interested in seeing, actually.
I think it's also really interesting how it was a yellow year last year, wasn't it? Everything was yellow.
Yeah.
I think credit to the club. I think they actually did follow that through quite well. They did manage to continue that through the season with the scarves at the promotion. The promotion colour was yellow, wasn't it? And I think they actually, to have recognised that, I think was probably quite sensible. And they did even though it was a slightly weird choice of fabric, to have a fleece bucket hat. I don't know if you encountered one of those. Is this for the warm or the cold? Do you want to keep the sun off? Do you want to keep your ears cold? I have no idea what it is. But yeah, I think they did execute that quite well last year, to give them some credit.
No, they deserve it. But I was going to say the Red Bull logo, because it's a white shirt, and we've spoke about the difficulties or perceived difficulties in making a white shirt interesting, I think, when we did the home kit last time, Ed, but it is something where you can do stuff with it. It's still a colour, even if it is essentially a bit of a blank canvas. But I think maybe the Red Bull logo on it, because it dominates on that blank canvas, it's really hard to then discern the other bits. Like you just, they've taken the blue tusks off this time, I saw them described, and they've gone. So it's a bit more white around the sort of torso. But other than that, it's not a huge amount of difference there. But the logo is so dominant. So you wonder if they tweaked, or they allowed the tweaking of the colours, which won't happen on the home shirt, presumably.
No,
if they'd put that in the same blue and yellow, then you kind of go, that is a different kit. But because the logo's so dominant, I suppose.
I mean, that's what, I did that on the kit I did, is, change the balls from red to blue. And it is amazing how it just brings it all together. And I wonder whether when people are looking at it, that's the immediate reaction is, this looks more like a Leeds kit now. And actually, they're not even looking at those details anymore. But that's the bit that, just gets them going. Take my money.
Yeah.
And I also, again, with this connection between sort of fans and club and stuff, is I'm sure this conversation's been had by Red Bull, and obviously the yellow kit last year was a blue logo, so you can do it. And I wonder whether it goes some way to improve a relationship, shall we say, between fans and that brand, if they did that. But I can't see it. I can't see it happening.
But I mean, presumably their logic is the white kit is the one that's going to be seen the most, so they want their original logo to be seen the most, and they're okay
and
with,
and they've paid for it.
They're okay with another one being seen, 4 or 5 times across the season. But
it's really interesting how these, just on that point, how you kind of got to make these, I suppose, compromises on principle, when it's like, if we want to compete in the Premier League, we need as much spending power as possible, and therefore Red Bull pumping their money in is to our advantage up to a point. We've had a separate discussion, we don't need to repeat it now, about if they were to rebrand. That is a whole different ball game. But as it stands right now, this money is really, really important to our success. So do you have to kind of, I don't know, grit your teeth and bear it to a certain extent?
I think you totally do. And it's interesting, when I put the kit that I did out on X last week, you get the odd comment that's like, grown men shouldn't be bothered about a bit of red on the kit, and grow up and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I'm just coming at it from a design perspective. That's all it is. But I think that is definitely, give me a choice between the perfect kit that I'd probably design or having some more money and competing in the Premier League. I'm going to go for the Premier League.
Yeah. And this is part and parcel of it. And as I've said loads of times before, it's not a gambling sponsor. It looks a lot, it's a recognised like blue chip brand. So, as long as we said before, as long as it stops there, then okay, you can.
It's preferable
and
to.
you give us your scouting access to your scouting network.
I was going to say, it's probably preferable to crypto or gambling.
Yeah.
Which is creeping in a lot. And they're meant to be changing the gambling rules, aren't they? At some
I think
stage?
it's end of this season.
Yeah,
I believe.
But for now, everyone's making hay while the sun shines on it seems.
And I think that's the bit here, and that's why I keep sort of saying it's not just Leeds. I think we all, especially these days, media is individualised such that you don't have to think about other clubs. So you're not necessarily looking at what other clubs are doing. I do, because I'm a nerd. And so, I'm going through all the kit launches, and so Burnley launched their new kit and the day before we did, and they haven't got blue sleeves, which has really wound up a load of their fans.
Have Villa done the same, or is it another?
No, West Ham.
West Ham
the day after.
Yeah,
they've done the same. So you've got two just claret kits. So both those sets are wound up, and they've both got gambling on the front. So 96.com are on the front. The only credit is that whilst their logo is massive, they've changed, I think, one of the brand colours to light blue, so it fits more acceptably. But it's like, again, at least we haven't got that. So whilst we're just moaning about our thing, this is something across football.
See, I don't even feel like the need to moan about the Leeds home kit, because I know it's so transient. Like I say, it's that emotional connection relationship thing, isn't it? And I mean, have you seen like some of the kits that are doing the rounds at the minute? Have you seen Brentford's
Joma?
It looks. I don't mean wish to be mean. Looks really quite cheap.
Well, they're a League One team. You've got to remember that with Brentford. I know they're having a good run at the moment. This looks like, and I'm not saying this as a cheap shot. And I know you were doing that there, but it was somebody on Twitter who just said it's a League One kit. Is that?
If they need a creative director,
but they're knocking out the authentic version of their home shirt, which is on their website now, for £95, and then the replica home shirt is £65. Big betting sponsor across the chest.
And the authentic on that, I believe, has got a big red panel on the back, whereas the stadium version has the stripes.
Right.
And this season there's a 100-year thing, and I was like, "What's that? What's that for?" They're over 100 years old, and it's because there's 100 years of having red and white stripes.
Right. So they've actually done away with it on the more expensive,
which is
version. Yeah. They've actually got a number 100. Yeah, on the back of the collar where we've got the stupid twirly scarf. Yeah, and I suppose that's down to visibility for the Premier League numbering system, I presume.
Yes.
Yeah, you've got to have a single panel. Colour on the back of your shirt, because you did with the peacock and with the fruit salad, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did like it. That's it. For anybody not on the video version, Ed was sat there. There's a lot of non-verbal communication going on there, shaking his head disappointed.
But that's been around for 10 years now. The not having kind of patterns on the back because of TV. I don't like it. But then it's something you noticed in the Championship when I think, like Stoke and Wednesday and QPR, quite hard to read numbers.
Yeah.
And as I'm getting older and needing my varifocals now, that sort of contrast does become a bit of a problem. I always like the fact that, did you know that Celtic were one of the last clubs in the world not to have numbers on the back, that they had numbers on the shorts instead, so that could be nice and clean.
I think it was UEFA regulations that eventually forced them to cave in on that, wasn't it?
I've got a question about sponsors. Why are they all smooth now? As someone who had his first shirts in the 90s, you had a nice flock. You had a bit of 3D going on.
I mean, the Thistle.
You could push the little button.
I was going to say the little Thistle Hotel button. Oh,
yeah, the Strongbow one.
You could watch them slowly come off in the washing machine.
The Packard Bell was nice and furry.
I will say this: I've still got my 1995-96, the choker kit, the white.
That's in good condition because you never wore it because it was so incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it's the white one, and that's still my Thistle Hotel's flock and raised logo, and it sticks out by a couple of millimeters easily.
And it gets covered in lint.
Yeah, well,
not the chocolates.
Yes, it's absolutely in perfect condition, and that's now 30 years old.
Yeah, it's there's sort of two reasons. Cost is obviously kind of one of them, but the main reason is just because it's a bit of a bugger to play in. I think when you're playing and it's thick.
Is that what you've found?
Rubbing and no, I can't remember the last time I played. Last time I tried to kick a football, I had a groin strain just from kicking a ball. I think that's where you can do more off the pitch, and that's what I want to do with sort of Asset FC is that kind of almost have a fan version that is that elevated kind of. We don't need to think about performance, and therefore I want to see flock numbers. I want to see flock logos. I want to see, the most embroidered, badges. Whereas if you speak to the players, they'll be like, no, I don't want any of that. And it's this kind of weird reverse back to the kind of those details on the really authentic, the really expensive ones is everything almost becomes even more minimal, but, in terms of the numbering and everything. And it's performance.
I watched a YouTube video about this related to basketball jerseys actually, and someone was saying how they prefer the fake jerseys you get to the official ones now because the official ones come heat pressed and the fake ones you get have still got stitch numbers on them and things. Yeah. So you actually get a greater level of detail on a fake jersey that's $15 versus the official one that's $100.
Baseball jerseys are amazing for that. I mean, they tend to be a bit thicker. If you get like an authentic one, like the numbers are really thick and stitched on, and that I think they look amazing. That's what I think. Sort of. We should have a fan version that is almost, like that.
Weighs about a ton on your back when it gets wet.
Yeah, because you're not going to play with it. You want it to just look cool in the pub.
Yeah. No, good shout.
And, same with the materials. If you're going to do, polyester, I don't need a performance, fabric next to my skin because generally I'm wearing it in the pub. I'm wearing it down to the game
because I sweat anyway.
I sweat anyway, exactly. But so why can't you get a version that's cotton? So
we're so glamorous. Before we sign off, Ed, one of your neighbours, one of your school-run compadres is leaving the club. So we're recording on Tuesday, the 8th of July. Transfer window is in full swing now. Looks like Gabriel Gudmundsson is coming in, Swedish left back. We know that Firpo's gone at the end of his contract. But you saw Junior. He's one of your school-run
He's a school dad.
Yeah, is that who he is to you as well as?
Yeah. He's over the last couple of years, I've kind of got to know him a little bit on the school run and chatted, and he's an absolute gent. I think it comes across in excuse me, in interviews that people have done with him, how nice he is and how genuinely he's taken the city to heart, and he's loved his time here, and he'll be missed, for sure. So thanks, Junior. I'm sure he's not listening, but he's a good guy.
It is the right time for him to go, though, isn't it? I think underneath it all, because I'm hideously sentimental about these things, and I'm like you at the end of the season, Michael. You said, "I'd just give him a contract, sign the thing, Junior Firpo," whatever it was that they were singing on Greek Street, and it's like, do you know what? I will genuinely miss him. I think the song's great, and I think the song will probably persist even after he's gone for a bit until we start making new songs.
No, it'll come when things are terrible in 15 years. It's the sort of thing that'll get sung when we're.
It's like the Don Matteo song, isn't it?
Yeah, when we're 3-0 down to Burnley on a Tuesday night, people will be singing it still because they'll be like, "Oh, something to do with it." Let's remember a better time.
But you almost don't want anyone to take that song over. Should just be his.
And if we'd gone back up and he was questionable, let's say, in the Premier League, because we saw it plenty of times when we were there last time, and I know there may be reasons for that, but I'm almost happy not finding out. I'm happy to exit at this point, ride off into the sunset, leave a hero. Everyone's had a nice time. It's the right moment. In the same way that had Radrizzani sold up when we got promoted last time and handed the club over to somebody with a bit more wealth, he could have done the same. But he felt the need to prove a point in the Premier League, and therefore stuck around and ended up becoming a bit of a villain, didn't he?
There was a bit of me thinks maybe the circumstances were just wrong for Junior the first time around, though, because it was not a good time, was it? And he was absolutely dogged by injuries as well.
Yeah, and got COVID a couple of times, and it just never got a run.
It felt like he'd come back into the side, be there for half a dozen games, and then he'd be out again for the same duration, wouldn't it? We just never seen anything of him. So maybe he did have a bit of bad fortune, but equally that fear of seeing him being run out by Mo Salah will never leave me, and him getting caught square often with
Mo
people.
Salah's a few years older now. Maybe you'd keep up with him.
Legs have gone
a little bit easier, but in his Instagram video, he kind of hinted that fact that he was not offered anything, which kind of fits with what we've heard. Yeah,
which I think is sad. I think that but that's
football, isn't it?
Football, yeah, and I think when you kind of see it from a personal side, you realise how brutal it can be, and I think that's another sort of fan issue, isn't it? That you're happy screaming praise and abuse in equal measures, on a Saturday afternoon, and you kind of don't think about the person underneath, and that's what they are. And it's been really nice to be able to chat with him, and he's always sort of been happy to sort of give a bit of time to sign the a few autographs, and be a good human.
Yeah, one of us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
He'll definitely be looking out for us. I think that doesn't go, and the experience that I think he's had has been unbelievable.
And bring us some more new shiny toys. That's what we need, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we can forget about all the old ones that we've grown to love. But it's like Andy's toy box in Toy Story, isn't it?
Definitely.
Bring in Buzz Lightyear. Right, we'll wrap it up there. Cheers, Ed. We'll do it again when we get the away and the third kits.
Let's do it.
See you in a bit.
The Square Ball Podcast.